The focus for today's webinar is on helping youth build their skills to be builders and problem solvers. We're going to be focusing on the role of their prior knowledge and experiences and engaging youth in their experiences and scaffolding the learning through making those connections. This summer we've been focusing on making and tinkering, and our focus today on the activity is going to be on creating roller coasters and really on the idea of using design challenges, and we'll be exploring what a design challenge is and how it engages youth. My name is Sandra Frericks, and I'm part of the Click to Science team. I am glad to have you here and encourage you to engage with us in the chat box as we're going through the webinar today. I want to start by modeling what I just talked about, engaging prior knowledge. I have a poll that I would like to have you respond to that will tell us a little bit about where you're coming from on this topic and what your thoughts are. So go ahead and select your response to the poll. You can select more than one answer and let us know what you think is important in designing and building experiences. Thank you, Melissa, for introducing yourself in the chat box. Melissa's going to be facilitating the chat for us today. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for sharing your ideas. It looks like there's a lot of agreement around particularly developing collaboration and critical thinking. But I would say in general, I see as a group that we really see a lot of value in a design and build experience. And I realize that I just kind of threw that out there without giving a lot of context for what we mean by designing and building. So we'll talk some more about that in the webinar, but I want to thank you for engaging with us and sharing your ideas on this important topic. As we're thinking about designing and building, there's some web links in the lower right-hand corner of your screen that you might want to look at and download as we're going through the webinar today. Learning STEM Through Design is an article that focuses on how engineering design activities engage learners. And it's very relevant to the topics we just had in our poll. And also how making projects can promote deep learning. Gives a good theoretical background and concrete examples of what you can do with design challenges and how you can implement them in a way that supports learning. So I encourage you to look at those resources either as we're going through the webinar today or after the webinar. So I do want to talk a little bit about what exactly I mean by a design challenge and how it is such a powerful tool for engaging learners. A design challenge is an opportunity for youth to design and build an idea. Design challenges help youth develop their thinking skills and their new understandings at the same time. So they're learning science as they're applying it and building skills together. A design challenge is an open-ended project that encourages learners to take initiative, work collaboratively, think creatively, and solve a problem. So that's pretty vague. There can be a lot of different design challenges. The challenge we're going to be looking at today is user challenge to build a roller coaster. The process, the engineering design process, or the design process as we have on the screen there, is an important tool that helps youth develop the skills of working collaboratively, solving a problem, and thinking creatively by applying this process in a systematic way to solve a problem. And the goal not only is that they learn how to use the design process in STEM activities, but they're able to apply it to other challenges in their life as well. There are a lot of different versions of exactly what the design process looks like. This one happens to come from Design Squad, which is a PBS show and has great resources. It's a great source for finding design challenges, and one of the links in the lower right-hand corner if you want to check it out. But the general process is you start with a problem or a challenge, brainstorm lots of different solutions, not just one answer, but a lot of different answers, and then select one of those to design, build, test. And as you test and evaluate your design, you find ways to redesign it, to improve it, and that cycle can continue until you reach a solution that really meets the goal that you set out at the beginning of the challenge. So now I want to give you a chance to share your expertise on what a design challenge is and what the benefits are for youth. In the chat box, I'd like you to share how you have used design challenges and what happens when you use them. What do you find is successful in it or challenging? We'll pause for a moment so you can share some ideas in the chat box. I want to thank everyone for sharing their ideas in the chat box, and feel free to keep commenting or sharing your ideas. I see some important themes emerging. I don't think I got to all of them, but one of the challenges is that it can be frustrating, and we need strategies to help youth work through their frustration. We don't want to keep them from being frustrated, but we want to help them work through their frustration to get to a solution, to help them identify where the problem is or break it up into smaller steps so they can accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. The other challenge I noticed is getting youth to share with one another, to collaborate, or to learn across groups. And I saw some ideas in the chat box about how to do that too, to facilitate the sharing of ideas and working together. One of the things about engineering is there isn't a single answer, and a good design challenge is going to have different products that each group will solve it in different ways. They won't all look the same. So encourage them to collaborate and learn from one another. It's an important part of this process, not just collaborating within their group, but across groups as well. Some tips I saw is using questions very strategically to engage youth in the challenge and to keep it open and flexible. I saw lots of ideas about really engaging materials and how that can help youth get engaged with the activity themselves. So again, I really appreciate everyone sharing their ideas. You can keep talking in that chat box as we move on to talk about another issue around this idea of a design challenge, and that's being sure that we're engaging all students in an equitable way. I'm sure that you have heard a little bit about research that shows how there's a really unequal distribution of professionals in STEM fields, that there are a lot of racial or ethnic groups that are underrepresented in STEM, that women are underrepresented in the STEM fields, that there are more men, particularly in analytic fields or fields that use a lot of mathematics. There's really no reason in terms of what research has found for this to be the case, other than there seem to be some preferences that some people are opting out of careers in STEM fields, and sometimes making those decisions to opt out very early, starting in about 4th grade. So there's a lot that we can do to really make a difference in the equity of distribution of professionals in STEM, because we are working with those students before they opt out and helping keep them engaged, helping them understand what it means to work in the STEM field. So the image that I have here is from the Martian movie, a 2015 movie, and one of the things that this movie was praised for is that it did have a more equitable representation of people in the STEM field. And this role of modern culture and media is really important in terms of how students view STEM. I'd love to get your thoughts on what you notice in this image from The Martian. what is good, what is missing in this image. Does it portray a more equitable view of what it means to be a STEM professional? So one of the things that we want to think about is how we can engage all the youth we work with their interest in STEM and engineering, because STEM career pathways provide the opportunity for them to have a strong financial future. And this can really make a difference for youth, but not all the youth in our program have equal access to STEM careers. So we want to think about what we can do to engage them. I see that Michelle commented that the image is lacking in diversity. Tell me more about what you mean by that. What elements of diversity are lacking here? What is present? What do you see that engages you, and what do you see that's a bit frustrating in this image? So thanks for your comments and the discussion that is going. We're noticing that there is good representation of women in the field, in the image, but not a lot of ethnic diversity. There are some different ages, and ageism is important in engaging youth in STEM, so that is good to see young people represented in the image. One of the things I noticed is that they don't really look like geeks. They look relatable for a lot of the youth in our program, but there is a real lacking of ethnic diversity. Some people who've seen the movie, I haven't actually watched it, say there is some more ethnic diversity in the film itself, but not in this particular image. But all of these issues are important. When we're talking about equity, we're talking about racial and ethnic groups that are evenly represented, different genders represented, different ages, and different backgrounds, so that the youth in our programs can relate to those images and can see themselves. And this sort of popular media image is important in how youth view STEM, but there's also a lot of things that we can do in our own program. We can look for images like this and role models. There are some great resources online to find virtual role models that can help youth see fun and engaging STEM careers and people who look like them, who are similar to them in their background or their age or their ethnicity. There's also a lot we can do with the language that we use when we talk about STEM. Research shows that we're able to engage more youth when we focus on solving problems and helping people as being what STEM is about, rather than developing technical expertise or simply building things. So I'm going to keep us moving, but I would love to have you share in the chat box if there's particular language that you have found as you're talking to youth about STEM careers or the STEM field that helps them engage in it and feel like they have a personal connection. The most important thing that we can do as we're working with youth in our program is to pay attention to equity, to keep this in mind, to notice the images and role models that we're using to try to help them connect to actual role models, people in their community, or virtual role models that will help them see themselves in those fields. Pay attention to the language you're using. Notice what is effective with the youth in your program and what is not, so that you can adapt to their needs and what is really going to engage them in STEM. The next thing we're going to do is watch a video from the Click to Science PD site that focuses on helping youth connect to their prior knowledge and experiences as they're preparing for a design challenge. We're going to watch Stephanie guide you through thinking about their own experiences with roller coasters and applying that to the design challenge that she's giving them. They're being asked to build a roller coaster using foam and tape and a few clamps to create their roller coaster. It needs to have at least one loop in it, and they're going to run a marble through the roller coaster to test it.
So who's ridden a roller coaster before? Lots and lots of people. Did any of you ever think about what goes into building a roller coaster?
Force.
Oh, very interesting. We're coming up with some science about roller coasters.
Gravity.
And gravity. Look at all these neat things we're talking about. So yes,
Watch as Stephanie leads the youth to recognize what they already know about physical forces and connect that to an engineering challenge to design a one-loop roller coaster. Using simple materials, a model of how it could look, and a challenge of only so much money or tape, frontline staff use what youth already know about roller coasters to engage in the design challenge. Pay special attention to how staff build time in the activity for youth to explore and investigate options and reflect and process what they built.
now I think you know enough to do a challenge. A roller coaster building challenge. What did the pencil do for you? How did you come up with the decisions that led you to your successful coasters?
We used the first pipe, and then we tried to add, it worked, and then we tried to add the next step, and we added another one, and we realized that if you did the swirly loop at the top, it wouldn't go, so we tried it on the floor at the bottom, and it would go, because all that speed, it went down, and it turned, and it went in the
Awesome, very good. Very, very good. Yeah.
So we used the bigger marble, and then we used it, but we figured out something. When you do the loop-de-loop, you need more force, or else it won't do the whole thing.
And how did you make more force?
But we kind of pushed it harder.
Oh, you pushed it harder. Okay, good.
When we attach that crag thing, we attached that higher, and then we attached that lower, and we saw that when it was higher, it got more speed. If you push more speed, then it would go faster, and if you do it more slow, then it would go slow and kind of go off, like the track.
So if you had the marble going faster, it stayed on?
Yeah.
Cool.
Are there any questions about the video? What did you notice about connections that Stephanie made before they started the challenge? And how would you build connections if you were leading an activity like this? Share your ideas in the chat box. I just commented in the chat box, one of the things that I was a little concerned about in the video is there seemed to be an assumption that everyone had experienced a roller coaster, and I'm not sure that that would necessarily be the case. So you might want to think about how you could give youth some experience that would help them prepare for that if they haven't been on a roller coaster or had that sort of experience. Because there were some things about force and gravity that if you had experienced a roller coaster might be more intuitive than they would be for youth who never had that experience. There are a couple of resources that we've included in the links pod down below that you could use to help build connections for youth. There's the interactive app where they design a virtual roller coaster. There's also a career connections to the dream job of being a roller coaster designer that can help them see how this activity actually plays out into a really interesting and engaging career field. Some other strategies that you might find useful in helping build connections is looking for challenges that address current issues or concerns of the youth in your program. Portraying STEM as a social lived experience, and that's one of the things that the career connections helps them see how people actually live out this job of designing roller coasters and what that looks like in the real world. There may also be opportunities to connect the challenge to broader societal problems or ethical issues. this is a really good strategy to engage a lot of youth, particularly if it's an issue that's important to them and something that they value. Maybe looking at environmental issues, recycling, or working with animals in their community. What are some things that would really matter to the youth in your program that could be societal issues that they might engage with? Another thing, we mentioned this earlier, is to really focus on solving problems and meeting the needs of others as a way to engage youth in this experience. So what we're going to do next is really thinking more deeply about this roller coaster activity. If you have any questions about the activity itself, please share those in the chat box. I do have another video that shows the activity if we want to see it, but I think you saw enough in the video to get the idea of what they're doing. So what I want to do now is to get your ideas about how this might connect and how you could apply what we just talked about in your program. So I'm pulling up 3 different chat pods, and what I want you to do is actually write your comments in the chat pod about what you noticed about the video. How would you build connections to this activity? What did Stephanie do as a facilitator that made the activity relevant to the youth in her program? And what is it about the activity itself that makes it inherently interesting to youth? We have lots of ideas about how novelty engages youth and how this experience is engaging in and of itself, but some ideas about how to enhance that too, because though you may work in an area where all the youth have experienced roller coasters, it's not something that's very frequent in my community. They just come in once a year when fair is in town. Otherwise, you have to drive somewhere a few hours away in order to engage that. So ideas about how to help youth experience it, to role play it, to share video clips, to show images or videos of roller coasters, have a demonstration so that they have some experience to build on as they're designing their own roller coaster. And then we noticed in the activity things like asking about their prior knowledge, having them share their experiences, and then reinforcing the concepts that are important in the physics of the roller coaster are all great ideas about how to help youth connect to their prior knowledge and experiences and really scaffold on those experiences as you're building the activity. I want to thank you all for engaging with us and sharing your ideas. This was a really great group with lots of ideas to share to help us improve our facilitation skills. I encourage you to come back to the webinar later or to share it with others, use it in the professional development of the staff that you work with in after-school programs. The Click to Science team has a lot going on in the next few weeks. So I wanted to share with you some things that are coming up, and you can find more information about what's coming up on our website. September 11th is going to be a big webinar focusing on the 2017 National Youth Science Day Challenge. There's some great resources on National Youth Science Day that if you aren't familiar with this, you can buy a kit for a fairly reasonable cost that you can use in your program. And in this challenge, they're going to build a wearable fitness device like a Fitbit or a smartwatch that tracks movement and helps youth understand data and make decisions about fitness using their wearable device. So it's a great activity, and the webinar on September 11th will help you understand this fast evolving field of wearable technology and how you can engage youth in it, and also provide resources to really help you facilitate a great learning experience as you use this activity. So I encourage you to join us for that webinar on September 11th. We'll also have a webinar on September 20th that focuses on the Click to Science model for effective professional development, some new things that are happening around Click to Science, and research that shows the impact of this model on staff performance and program quality. So don't miss that webinar either. Both of them will be recorded, but we encourage you to join us live. And if you happen to be at the Idaho Out of School Summit on September 13th and 14th, look for Click to Science there too. We'd like to meet up with you and connect with you. Thank you so much for joining us today. This was a short webinar, so you can get back to other things that you have going on today. We do want to encourage you to connect with us at Click to Science, and also to take a moment to fill out the survey that will open up as you leave the webinar today. Thanks for joining us, and please give us your feedback.